The problems are not new. For more years than anyone remembers, residents of Chicago have seen it all, and residents of Chicago have lived it all.
When I look around, I see the neighborhood dying. You see what I mean? I know what the neighborhood was when I came here. The neighborhood is deteriorating, it is dying.
And then you're looking at what was once a sound building that could have been rehabbed and turned into an affordable home for a family that need it. But now you're looking at it and it's only good for demolition.
But for 25 years and counting, one organization has gathered the resources to fight back. The late 1970s were a time of uncertainty, a time of national recession and global crisis. In Chicago, disinvestment, white flight, and the void in leadership left by the death of five-term Mayor Richard Daley reflected the national malaise. Emerging from local organizing and the civil rights movement of the 1960s, community activists turned their attention to housing. Using elbow grease and dogged determination, they proved that neighborhood redevelopment must be and can be done. A group of community development leaders started meeting informally for coffee at West Town's Erie Settlement House in 1976 to share contacts and advice. The outline of something bigger than any of them began to take shape. Launched with a technical assistance grant from the city, the fledgling network laid out its agenda in its first newsletter of October 1977. The Chicago Rehab Network is organized to ensure the continuous supply of decent housing for low and moderate income families in Chicago neighborhoods. CRN soon established its ability to leverage public monies with the private sector, improve the management of housing corporations, and provide meaningful training. Its political vision articulated a new kind of development by legitimate neighborhood-based housing development organizations, development that would stop resegregation while improving housing and opportunity for existing residents. In other words, development without displacement. The election of Mayor Harold Washington marked a major turning point in neighborhood development. Private sector commitments were forged to create a breakwater against the waves of disinvestment, racism, and abandonment. In its first milestone victory, CRN worked with then State's Attorney Richard Daley to develop and administer the Tax Reactivation Program. Hundreds of properties were restored, rehabbed, and placed back on the tax rolls. In the same era, CRN worked with organizations across the city to establish the Neighborhood Lending Program. First National Bank of Chicago, Harris Bank, and Northern Trust agreed to an unprecedented $170 million commitment. CRN itself facilitated the loans and grew an expanded professional staff to support the initiative. Other creative approaches to leverage state and federal resources to support affordable housing were established. Meanwhile, a resurgence of investment in Chicago's central area contrasted sharply with the pace of investment in the city's neighborhoods. CRN and its fellow neighborhood advocates watched this trend with concern. Balanced growth became the mantra, as CRN participated in grassroots projects to attract investment to the neighborhoods. In 1990, CRN and University of Illinois at Chicago published the first Chicago Affordable Housing Factbook. Housing data was broken out for the first time by neighborhood. This powerful snapshot of housing reality empowered CRN and its leadership. CRN's 1991 policy retreat injected new energy into the cause.
Here we are!
In December 1992, Alderman Tony Preckwinkle and Arenda Troutman and 17 co-sponsors introduced the Chicago Affordable Housing and Community Jobs Bill. Its goals were ambitious: a redefinition of affordability, a $1 billion housing investment, and implementation of the mayor's own task force recommendations. The campaign rallied 270 organizations, and the media jumped on board.
Finding a place to live is becoming more difficult, more expensive in Chicago. With more from a new study, let's go to Bob Reed, live at Crane's Chicago Business. Bob?
Joan, these new findings should set off some alarms.
City Hall listened.
We have announced plans to provide more affordable housing in Chicago by investing $752 million in city programs over the next 5 years. We will create nearly 18,000 new units of affordable housing while preserving 29,000 more.
But more important than securing the victory would be implementing it. Federal dollars continued to diminish, and gentrification made city neighborhoods once considered unacceptable now attractive. CRN was evolving into a think tank on housing issues, attracting new stakeholders by transferring knowledge to neighborhoods and professionals in the field. CRN was proactively shaping new thinking, not only in the neighborhoods, but also in financial and real estate circles, with creative new programs. Policies to stem the tide of gentrification included Cook County's HELP program for long-term homeowners, Chicago's CHAP program, and research analysis like present realities and future prospects. And for 5 years, the Department of Housing quarterly reports gave CRN the information it needed to conduct critical analysis. Working with the new Department of Housing Commissioner, a collaborative process was developed. The city's commitment nearly doubled to $1.3 billion. We were succeeding. As the nation celebrated the millennium, CRN was approaching its own first quarter century, a mature and more sophisticated organization, yet its basic purpose remained to create more affordable housing for strong neighborhoods to benefit existing residents. A new century called for a new multi-year approach. The 3-year Valuing Affordability campaign would stress the value of decent housing for all of society. New policy and resource initiatives were launched. The Chicago Rehab Network today continues to believe that housing is foundational to a civilized society. Founder and co-chair of a new communications campaign called Housing Illinois, CRN and its now 42 members want the public to understand that affordable housing is not something that only other people need. Housing Illinois created a whole range of new communications.
Grandpa, my physics teacher, and my French teacher.
My son Bob and his new wife Marilyn.
We need the people who need affordable housing.
Cops.
Just about every community in the Chicago area could use some now. So when someone mentions affordable housing where you live, say yes.
Today, with you, your support, your involvement, and your caring, our leaders will continue the hard work of identifying new resources and policies and create the communications about what matters most. This summer, the governor signed a new law for preserving rental units. That matters. CRN organized a federal housing forum. That matters. And released the Affordable Housing Fact Book with statewide data. That matters. If you value the long-term framework of communities and where people live, you have to value affordable housing. It's the issue of the new millennium. One Chicago mother, Sherry Hooker, would agree. She writes, 21 years ago, my husband worked in the steel mill and we had 4 young children. It was so difficult to make ends meet. Moving into Bickerdike enabled me to stay in my own neighborhood, raise 4 successful children, and become an active leader in my community. My family and I have literally felt the impact of the Chicago Rehab Network and its members every day of our lives.
I know